both then.
Could do. Do you think people should do an SBD or train in a powerlifting style just to get in shape, or do you think they should train it just for competition purposes? So like I say, if I said to you, look, I want to become dense and strong, but I don't want to compete. Or do you think they should do it just for the competition purpose?
I'm going to give more of a nuanced answer than you might expect.
Okay.
Interesting.
I think powerlifting can be generally useful for health because, like, it's actually the second lowest. I think I told you that on the call. It's the second lowest injury rates. The one above only being bodybuilding. Sorry, you're slightly more injury prone today, but the thing is, you don't have impact on the joint. You also tend to develop generally like your bone density increases. Because not gonna lie, my skeleton is not the same from when I was squatting 150 from when I squatted 250 plus now. My skeleton has literally gotten like thicker. It's like the body just adapts to the demands over time. And it's like I'm not gonna lie, that can be quite useful, especially when you get old, to have like just denser bones. Also having more muscle mass will help because generally you tend to lose muscle as you age. And having NTRT and having more muscle in general helps prevent that, or like at least like reduce the damage. However, on the other end, there are other reasons why I would say it's not the best. Generally, cardiovascular health is a good indicator of lifespan. What cardiovascular activity does powerlifting have?
Yeah, there's a big stereotype in powerlifting that they just sit down for about 4 hours in between sets. You must have seen the memes online.
It is true.
But then there's obviously a specific reason behind that. But like a lot of the stigmas these days are like, if you lift heavyweights, you're going to have a bad back. You're going to have bad knees.
You're going to have a fucking strong knees and back.
People who are out of shape, they say this.
I don't get it.
They say this to us. They're like, why'd you go to the gym and lift heavyweights? You're just it's going to hurt your back.
So do you think then, I mean, you kind of answered this earlier. Do you think SBD would be better just generally for people then? If you just did the powerlift? Because I've always said this, and it doesn't matter about competition. And I could never agree with the notion that you should only do a powerlifting style program if you want to compete. I don't think you need to do that. I think you should compete if you're training in a powerlifting fashion, and you can jump in. I know you want to. But I just think personally, I've learned a lot since I started powerlifting. I've understood just training in that way and doing actually squatting. Because a lot of people just say, I don't want to squat because it hurts and it's hard, so I'm going to leg press in 10 plates instead. I mean,
that doesn't sit well with me, I don't think.
No. What are your thoughts on that? People just not squatting because they think it's dangerous in any way. They just do leg press instead.
Maybe they could squat deeper if they weren't like, you don't need to do a powerlifting depth squat because in powerlifting you don't get extra 100 points for squatting lower than you need to.
Yeah, like you'll see Matthew, he's got a really nice deep squat, but deeper than it would need to be in competition.
I can't go below my powerlifting depth. I physically cannot, which is useful for my sport, which is not as useful for mobility and joint health, I guess. Although like it's very it's a very restrictive way of thinking about it, but especially when it comes to injuries and stuff. But I would say maybe like just overall movement, like a good deep hack squat will feel really good and will build more muscle than a powerlifting competition squat, just because you're under more range of motion, and also because you can push it harder. Like you can push a hack squat way harder than you can. Okay, maybe I'm the exception because I am someone who is like extremely well built for squats.
Yeah.
So obviously I can push a set of squat way harder than most individuals. So that's why I have more squats in my program than most people. And yeah. But however, I do not represent most people in that scenario. Like most people are generally not that well like configured to squat. And I would say, I'm not saying you should avoid squatting. I think you should have variety of movement. That is quite healthy to have variety of movement. However, when you powerlift, you focus on specificity. And if you focus on specificity, therefore, there are some, you just try to stay healthy as you can. But like going with specificity all the way is generally not going the same direction as like long-term health.
Yeah, there's been a lot of discussion around this. I just want to ask you a question. So you see a lot of people now who are new to the gym, especially in commercial gyms like we've been to and trained in. They sort of tend to neglect the SBD. They think that they should be doing very niche movements. So like D-handle lat pull downs where they're targeting like specific lateral fibers where they haven't got those fibers to begin with in order to target them. So do you recommend for a beginner to just jump into an SBD due to the advantages you spoke of it, and Alex, you spoke highly of these as well, building biomechanics, feeling good, feeling strong, proper technique. It also provides you with a good training program. So do you agree with that, or do you think there should be a different start for beginners?
Beginner in the gym or beginner powerlifter?
In the gym.
Just generally people who
complete newbie.
train,
You don't need to squat, bench, deadlift.
No?
No, you don't need to. Like,
what would you recommend there as like a good foundation to build, to lift weight?
I mean, you don't need to, but at the same time, it's like you should not restrict yourself to. It's like you should not like go in with the mindset, I should not do that. Like you should, if you want to, like it is. There's a difference between I don't want to squat because I just don't like it, or I just don't enjoy it. And there's a difference between that and I'm scared of squatting. Like,
I suppose it's just what do you think when you think of these exercises?
Like, if you're scared of something, I think that's all the more reason you should try to do it. Just like, because you can't live your whole life with the fear of certain movements. We all know that guy. We all know that old fart who just like comes into the gym and just goes like, like I don't really do deadlifts like 20 years ago, when I was young, I hurt my back and I never felt the same again. Like from that day, I stopped deadlifting. And I ask, oh, does your back not hurt anymore? It's like, it still hurts.
So you can't blame it on that.
You can't like it's basically like when like, let's say this, let's say you hurt your leg. So you decide to never walk again.
Yeah.
What happens if you try to walk after 20 years of never using your legs? What the fuck happens?
Yeah, it's not going to feel good.
It's not going to feel good.
You don't walk,
Probably going to feel like shit. So you just avoid it. And that's exactly what these guys have done. They're in pain. And the thing is like, bro, like it's been 20 years. Your tissue have had the time to like heal. Your tissues are fine. You're just scared.